Welcome to 50/50 Books, the book review podcast where the books are split in two, and figuring out just what is going on is always a toss-up. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jonathan. This episode we're finishing up How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. Taylor, I'm going to put up front of this episode. I can already anticipate I'm going to be doing a lot of criticizing with this book, so I'm going to put up front that I actually did not dislike this book because I feel like last time I did a lot of criticism, I was like, no, I think people are going to think I hate this. But no, I didn't hate this book, but I'm just saying outright, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts.
I would agree with that. I did not dislike this book either. I think it had some good bones, which, we love to say sometimes on this podcast. But this might have been a bit of a miss from Matt Haig for me. I definitely still, got the Matt Haig sense from some of the things being talked about here, but it almost felt like there was too much going on that just caused us to not really dive deep into specific things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this was a concern I had at the end of the last episode, right, when we were looking ahead to the second half of, man, I really hope, it finds a point, it finds a thread to follow. And I do think you're right that it's spread a little thin, and so it does dig in deeper to some things, but it does feel, I guess, incomplete in some ways.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, we'll get more into it. I think one thing I'll start off with to get into some of the higher level style things. I think one of the writing related concerns I had about the book was the whole character of Omai. And I had some suspicions about it in the first half, but it could have kind of gone either way from the initial introduction. There was the weirdness of Omai being kind of shockingly welcomed into society as kind of an othered person. That I was fine with, but it just didn't make sense with me at first. Some of the stuff in the second half definitely didn't vibe with me as well, though. There's this scene showing when him and Tom meet for the first time, where effectively Tom is a colonist, right? He's a pillager, and just decides not to. He has this vibe basically, right, with Omai, and decides I've had enough. I'm not gonna burn this dude's house down. I'm not gonna contribute to the burning of his community. So then he gains some respect from Omai, and then there's kind of this talk of effectively cultural significance of shadows and things that I thought were kind of risky to be talking about from the perspective of who we know as a white man as an author. And I don't think that means that people shouldn't try to write, with diversity and other cultures integrated into their work, but it kind of just rubbed me the wrong way, I guess. I think there was just something a little I don't know, savory about it, right?
Yeah, I think it maybe taps into the main issue I have with this book, but the fact that Tom doesn't burn down the house is seen as a great thing, but he also doesn't stop other people from burning down everything else, right? He's doing the bare minimum here, in which he does nothing. But it's not really Tom that is special in this moment. It's his condition, right?
Right.
That's really what Omai is being drawn to. So it's less about Tom as a person.
Yeah, I'll give some credit to this situation because Tom admits to being effectively a shitty white dude of the time, right? He admits to I was no exception. I was definitely out there pillaging up until this point. I was not a good person in the eyes of history at that time. So having some acknowledgement of that, I think, does help a little bit. I think it's just kind of the follow on of the relationship, and I guess just Omai's warming up to him that was there's something, I don't know, just something Pocahontas-y about it, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. I think it's almost kind of works against itself a bit because Omai goes along with Tom and he kind of becomes civilized, I guess, in the Tarzan Pocahontas way we've seen sometimes, but
right.
That almost feels like a rejection of the culture Omai is from, and it's not necessarily a bad culture even in this book, right? He's seen it's interesting that we see the way in which other cultures handle the condition, right? Because Omai isn't killed as a witch. He's seen almost as godlike, right?
Yeah.
So the positives of that kind of experience, there's just like almost like a missed opportunity into diving
Mm,
into that. And I guess we don't want to villainize the whole of white civilization. We
sure.
could, we should probably. Um, but this would have been a good time to kind of tap into what we talked about in the first part of like, there is another way to live with this kind of condition. And Omai is experiencing that both in the past and in the present. And we just kind of sweep over it and have Tom almost, to your point, like save Omai from where he's from. And then also save him in regards to the condition because Omai is like, I learned that it's like important to love people because of you, Tom, like because you had
mm,
Rose, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like he probably could have reached that point on his own, to be fair. But it does set Tom up to be kind of this savior and in a multitude of different ways, I think.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying because it's in line with what I said. I think there is some space for pushback, particularly in that Omai kind of talks about him leaving as like doing it kind of being like a graceful move in that it didn't have to do with him leaving because he was being ostracized or targeted or all the reasons why someone else might leave. It was kind of like giving other people a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he kind of gets in this like, I could have just been in charge and stayed in charge, but like there's no way for anyone else to have a chance if I just stay there forever. And so like there was almost like a more positive take for him on leaving as a result. So I guess I saw it less of like, I mean, he does effectively leave his culture behind, but like that just felt like less of the reason for doing so. It was more just like giving them a chance to live normally in a way.
Yeah, it for sure is set up that way. But then the question is like, then why does Omai decide to leave and decide to leave towards a place that is going to be harsher towards him,
Mm,
right? Like,
yeah.
I guess like see the world is like the general concept, but there is almost a part of it that could feel a bit forced and set up so that Tom has to like teach him and save him and civilize him and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah. I think it's a good point too. I also do think Omai talks a bit about having a similar god complex to Hendrik, right? Where he
Mm,
sees himself as exceptional and is like I'm a god in the way I understand gods, right? Like I kind of just like am a being of earth that has a lot more power than other people because of this particular thing, right? And
mm-hmm.
so I think he's like when this like crusade shows up on his island and he sees like the ships and stuff like that, like he's almost in my head he's thinking of it opportunistically, which is like probably bad for its own reasons in that he's also not like with his people, right? But like he's seeing it as like, oh, this is a way for me to do something different and like I will be fine because I have this, like I can navigate the world differently than
Mm.
other people can, which does kind of pan out for him when he's like positively exoticized later on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think like with that kind of mindset, it would have been more interesting to get Omai sooner, and have him kind of foil Hendrik for longer.
I think there is a great missed opportunity in general of Omaya not being a regular character, like not getting him this until this close to the end. Like I think the foil point is great. Like he could have, especially having that kind of I'm godly angle, right? Could have been such a good counterpart to Hendrik. But at the least, like I just wanted to see a different perspective in this book. I feel like there is almost something limiting about Tom's story, which it seems crazy because he's like lived through time and we get the flashbacks and all that. But like there's something that just feels I guess like we're just getting one point of view, right? At the end of the day, when it comes to people who have this condition, for the most part, we're getting the Hendrik point of view via Tom.
Yeah, and I think like partially that might be a Haig style thing, like kind of like the more minimalist writing. I feel like it was kind of like that with Midnight Library too.
It's like straightforward.
Yes, for sure. Um, I think in this, because we get the flashbacks, we feel like we almost want to assume there is like depth and history being given to Tom, but the flashbacks almost become like a cheat code because of how they're written, I think. Because Tom, for all the experiences we're seeing, there's not much like reflection or like introspection happening in regards to anything he's experienced. when we see the flashbacks, we see how he feels about Rose. Like we see all of those things. We're reading about them, but like none of it feels very thoughtful. And I mentioned in the first part that like the fact that it's kind of like PTSD, right? Like something triggers it and he remembers. I think that's actually a detriment to the book to have it set up that way, because while Tom is seeking closure, it's more like he's just triggering himself throughout this book rather than actually like experiencing and working through the things he's gone through, right?
Yeah, I almost feel like I think it's intentional. I think it's left as an exercise to the reader because you get information that could lead to that, and then you hit a chapter break. And so I think it's supposed to be like, here's like, I'm highlighting information so that way you can have the thoughts about what that should mean for Tom without Tom ever telling you what he thinks that should mean.
Right. Which just means Tom becomes such like an apathetic, empty character, which works in the beginning, right? Because he's obviously in his mafia cult stage with like Hendrik kind of telling him what to think and telling him how to feel. But the problem is we spend the entire book in that place. And so if we had like Oh My sooner or Marion sooner, God forbid, he would have just had to like feel emotions for himself and like work through things on his own instead of kind of just filtering everything that like Hendrik is telling him.
Yeah. I think there was kind of an attempt at this in the first half with Agnes, where they kind of have, I feel like, an actual friendship, unlike a lot of the relationships Tom is able to have. And so I think some of it starts to come out, but then like there's no more Agnes after that, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that's like the nature of the situation, right? Like Hendrik's goal is, I think, at least to keep people separated. Like I was shocked that he and Agnes were ever able to live together, right? But I think, I don't know, the kind of like downside effect to that is like that there needs to be some other outlet, or I guess there doesn't need to be, right? Like he made his choice as the author to, you know, give you the opportunity to fill in the gaps in the thoughts. But I'm kind of with you in that I wish there was some exploration of these thoughts, and that therefore there would need to be something else for him to have as an outlet, like a journal entry or something like that, or just someone else.
Yeah, and like to like the journal entry point, I do think there's only one. For some odd reason I thought there were more, but the interlude he included on the piano and like the way he talks about music, I guess in general, like that felt like something, right? That felt like he was actually trying to work through something. Just because it wasn't about like an event or like a moment, it was more about like the emotional feeling of something.
Yeah.
Like journal entry, yeah, he could have also done it by just like talking to his therapy dog, because that's what Abraham basically is within this book.
Oh, that would have been like a fun way to expand like the role of Abraham, right? Like, why have this dog? Yeah.
Or I think there was even a way to kind of like tie in the teaching and the sharing about his own experiences better. Because we kind of gloss over the teaching as we gloss over everything in this book. But I think if instead of flashbacks, let's get rid of the flashbacks for a minute. And if we had him teaching the classes about these flashbacks and about these things happening, and him having to like speak about them, but then also internally kind of think about his personal ties to them, I think that's more reflective than him just like writing the words at us, I guess.
That's actually so fun because there's this like thing in the book of like, oh, like history is just like naturally alive or something, right? And then like Anton's like, oh, I love the way he makes history come alive, which I'm like, I just like disagree with all of this, like based on the information we have. But boy, could it come alive if, and maybe he's not doing this because of the risks, but if he talks about effectively himself in the third person, like if he creates a character for the class, and he's like, oh, there's this guy, I don't know, there's this guy Jack who like, you know, is a time traveler, or like has, you know, he has this immortality or long life, and he's gonna be who we follow throughout history on his like escapades and like adventures, and he's just like telling his story as a way to talk about history. Yeah, like that would be making history come alive. That would be giving it like some oomph for the kids to catch on to. That's more interesting than the lectures he does the entire book.
Yeah, you could also see like the progression of him being careful at the beginning and then him slipping up more and more and the risk getting higher and higher towards the end, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, and that would have given some more like beef to Hendrik clearly having suspicion of Tom's allegiances, right? Like we get to the point where he's in Australia and he's already sent Marion with him, right? To presumably come after him. Like he's already lost trust. Like that would have like it would have patterned with it to say, okay, this is why Hendrik is losing trust because Tom is behaving this way.
Right, and it would have given Camille something more to grab onto. Like if she had her suspicions, if she looked into it, like it would have just added more to her character. But I don't honestly we don't need to talk about Camille, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is I brought it up with the flashbacks, but like most of the flashbacks and like my complaint about like Tom and stuff and everything feeling superficial is just because of like how apathetic he is, right? Like I don't think there's a clear purpose in this book as to like why he's doing anything. We know he's looking for Marion, but also he's kind of not looking for Marion.
That's the thing, right? He's not, right? Yeah. Like that's what I wanted. Is like, yeah, more drive, right? Like something that, yeah. I think it's supposed to be cerebral in a way, but then like we talked about, there's no exploration of those themes, right? Like this is supposed to be him revisiting his past and processing. Like I think he, when he signs up to be a history teacher, he knows what he's doing in that way. But then yeah, we don't get that mental exploration of it, and then there's no other like main plot device. I think this is also why I struggled with the flashbacks in general. Like I felt like they connected to the things he was doing, right? We talked about kind of this alternation between the flashbacks and the current story, and it's like, okay, like I see the connection. I see like the thing from the past is like now like coming back to him because like these other things are going on. But I think in hindsight, it feels more passive than active, right? Like it feels like things are happening to Tom. And so like, yeah, like you talked about it being triggered as opposed to like a processing that is happening.
Right. And it's confusing because this is something he set up for himself, right? Like he's the one that says, I need closure. And then, yeah, he's kind of just letting it happen to him. He's not actually working towards it. So there's like that whole situation. But then it's also like the why. Why is he seeking closure? Why is he trying to do this? Why return to London? Like none of that feels based in like a strong purpose or like a strong foundation within this book. It's kind of just like a why not? Because, yeah, like even the Camille stuff is passive, right? Like he doesn't really decide, I should tell her, I want to get closer to her. That's kind of decided for him.
Right.
She finally figures out why she knows him, which I thought was kind of stupid, but that's fine.
Oh no.
It's fine. We just thought too big in the first part, I think.
Honestly, we were thinking too big. I was definitely having that thought while reading this book of, I love theorizing about what's going to go down in a book, but sometimes it does set up the book for failure when it doesn't meet your expectations, right?
Yeah. So that happens to him. Like Hendrik is the biggest like culprit of this, right? Like he's making Tom do things. And then every assignment he has and every bad thing he has to do is also because something is being done to him, right? Did you notice that? Like he had to kill those people because they were going to kill him, right?
Right.
It's like an interesting way to make Tom, I mean, not a murderer, I guess, or to be able to forgive him, right? It's about optics, right?
Well, he's a pawn, right? That's like his real role is not to make his own decisions, and I think that's Hendrik's goal for him.
Right.
It's just, yeah, for things to happen to him, and he's like so willing to do that, like because of his perception of his own life, right? Like he sees himself as like such a danger, right? Like that's kind of his origin, is feeling like, oh, I'm a danger, like I need to take on kind of the responsibilities associated with like joining the society or like protecting the people around me, so that way it's like it's all on me. And so he's like willing to put himself through a lot at the with the understanding that it's supposedly going to protect others and maybe himself too. Like he's trained for it.
Yeah, for sure. But even from like a meta perspective, like he's given tasks that won't make him seem unworthy of the ending he gets, right? Like the fact that he had to kill people or he was going to die, or the fact that he doesn't want to kill Hendrik at the end or like whatever, right? Like
Mhm.
he's still able to be a net like positive protagonist, I guess. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Like he's written for the reader to forgive him.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, I think that kind of loops back to some of the Oh My stuff we were talking about earlier, honestly. So I can
Yeah.
see that.
Just because,
Yeah.
like, think about like the Western situation, right? Like, if he had been so looped into the cult society and the two cowboys or whoever he was supposed to recruit, they did end up saying no, they were going to leave. And instead of Tom's life being in danger, he's just so much of a pawn that like Hendrik being like, if they don't agree, they have to die, and he just kills them. Like he's the one that takes the action to kill them. He's still a pawn, but he is
Hmm.
like taking that action.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Like how does that change, right? Like how does that change how we view Tom?
It makes me think that's the reason that Arizona scene is even there then, because we get the drop earlier with Anton that he's killed someone before. And so like in my head, I'm like, oh, like he just did that because he was told to, right? Like he's in this society where they have to kill people sometimes if they want to be in the society, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of already had that perspective of him and like maintained it because this didn't occur to me until now that like that scene is there to be like, oh, the reason he killed someone is because he was in danger. And it does kind of take the onus off of him a little bit and make him a more relatable or likable character, because it was just him responding to his environment. It wasn't him making an active decision to kill. Now, that makes a lot of sense, but in the back of my head, this is just one instance of him being on a mission or on assignment. In my head, in the past, he has killed people outright because they didn't agree or because they already had a conversation with someone else that didn't go well, and now he's been sent to like finish the job. Like I never like dropped this idea that he has killed people in cold blood, I guess.
Oh, I mean, yeah, which could be the case for most people reading this, but for me, him saying he's murdered people was about like the people in Arizona, right?
No,
Like
I think you're right though. I think that's the point. Yeah.
yeah, because even with the start of this book, he's supposed to kill the woman in Sri Lanka, right? But
Right.
he gets there and she's already dead, and so he doesn't have to do it. And so that felt like the start of him not having to do like the things I guess Agnes is shown to do within this book. Like he doesn't actually have to murder people.
There's like a point, I can't totally remember where because I'm not sure I wrote anything about it down, but there's a point that gave me the vibe that Hendrik wanted Tom to think he was kind of like the special one or like he was a favorite of some sort. And I wish I could remember the context now. That like makes me rethink some of this too, though. Like the woman being dead already when he gets there, and I don't know, just being in situations that give him the feeling of importance to the society without him having to do things that Hendrik knows he would not do.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is when they first meet, I think Hendrik asks him like, "Do you want to live?" Or like he's surprised by the fact that Tom wants to live because most
Right, that he's
people
got will. Hmm.
right, because most people with it in their situation don't really have like that kind of purpose. So I could see that like as a point of Hendrik making Tom feel special. It also feeds into like Hendrik knowing exactly how to control Tom, which also makes him different from everybody else basically. Cuz I don't know how many of these albatrosses have kids that are albatrosses.
Yeah, like it must be a very recessive trait, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have such a small number of them known.
Right.
Yeah, I guess like while we're on the topic of Tom, there were many things I was frustrated by, and now I'm not talking from like a writing perspective. Like I think I'm supposed to be frustrated by these things, but like just about the society and like the way that Tom has been conditioned and sort of the logic that's used here. Like I think the higher level point of all of this is Hendrik mirrors probably not just modern, but I'm thinking of modern leaders who use fear as manipulation, right? And so I of course I'm going to be frustrated seeing that in action in this book. I think like some of the ways that it shows up is like this idea of safety and security for Tom, right? When he says directly like the only time, like as a part of the society, the only time you're unsafe is when you're on assignment, in which you are like I would say very unsafe, right? Because you're being put in these situations like the Arizona one, where like killing is expected. And I mean, like even when he's sent to Omai, that's kind of implied as the alternate route too, right? Of like either we're going to convert him into a society member or we're going to kill him, and that's going to be your job, right?
Yeah.
So like this idea of safety is like thrown out the window. And I like, might I say, I think you're just as unsafe in those 8 years, right? Like you are still a person who has this condition in the world. I think like the one benefit is that it's 8 years, right? Like there's less of a chance of being noticed over a long period of time. That is like, to me, the only benefit though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also insinuated that at least Tom, but I'm assuming other people are also being watched, right? Like observed.
Right. There's like this Berlin Institute lab thing, right? That keeps getting brought up, which I'm like, I don't even know if that's real at this point in the story.
Yeah, because Tom doesn't like take any time to actually look into it. He just believes whatever Hendrik tells him, right? We at least know one of them is probably real. Whatever company he almost gets in contact with at the end.
Right.
So it does seem like people are looking into like how to stop aging, but like there's no proof that they are experimenting on albatrosses.
Or that they've like, if they are, that they've like abducted and disappeared them to do so.
Right.
Right. Like I think that's the main thing, right? If Tom goes in willingly with this company and is like, I'm willing to like I don't know, do tests or whatever to like help you guys on this mission. Like that doesn't mean that they're gonna like abduct him. Like maybe he'll become part owner or something, right? Like this is a different time. I think it's kind of the point, or part of the point of this book too, is to say like not everything is how it always was, you know?
Yeah, I think this comes up like with the love discussion of like sometimes you have to do the dangerous thing instead of like keeping things a secret. I think for this and like this mostly I guess minorities, especially queer people, like you have to like be public and be put in danger a little bit so that you can get the protections of society.
Right.
Is it possible a government will still abduct people even if they're in public? Yes, we're seeing it.
Oh boy, yeah.
But like it's harder for them to do that if you make your existence known.
Exactly. It's kind of like, yeah, like if you're gonna meet with someone new, you meet them in public, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't put yourself in the danger of hiding.
Right. And like, how do you get legislation that's going to protect you, right? Like, you have to be vocal about the fact that you need protections, right? Like, if gay people were still hiding their relationships, we wouldn't really have gay marriage, would we?
Right, exactly. Like, there had to be some, like, bravery aspect to it, which, like, I can give some credit to, right? Because it's not an easy answer, right? It's not the obvious answer when you feel like you have another path to safety for the moment, right? It just doesn't. It obviously, though, if you do that, you can't affect any long-term change or any societal change or anything that will provide you comfortable safety.
Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, this ties in a little bit to what Hendrik talked about in the beginning. Like, he gets to live forever, but other people create a legacy, right? Like the Rockefellers and things like that, right? Yeah, you guys are living forever, but you're not creating an impact for the people that are going to come after you, right? Like, you're not creating anything that's actually going to last.
Which is a good point with the society too, right? Because Hendrik, I mean, when he's dead, like, that's probably it, right? Like, I don't think there's like someone in line. There's no vice president, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's Agnes, I guess. She seemed to be the closest to him, but a lot of the people there, I want to say a lot of the people, there's at least a few people we know of that were thankful towards Tom, right, in particular, because they felt like they had found their place, right? And so Tom becomes... I haven't
thought about that, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if Tom becomes public and says this condition exists and, you know, we want to help because of what our bodies are doing, whatever, but also we want protections and, you know, want to be recognized, then I think people are going to be a lot more thankful for that than for whatever Hendrik was doing for them.
Exactly. Yeah, there's like a letter he gets from Hendrik that's like, oh, like one of your former recruits like sent this in talking about how you know, saved their life, basically. Which, when I was going over my notes at the end and like connected that with the letter that Marion had that supposedly was in Tom's handwriting and said all this stuff about not wanting his daughter, I was like, oh, that letter was fake.
Yeah, I guess it might have been, huh?
Like, I think it was a manipulation tactic. Which maybe it wasn't, because like I mean, I could see it happening, right? It's definitely not impossible, but based on the other letter, I was like, oh, there's potentially common behavior here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think the sentiment is at least there, right?
Yeah.
Because the connection between Omai and Tom, like that understanding they have, I think that's a very real thing, which the society can give them, but the fact that they're so like solitary and isolated from each other, it just like isn't the best way to do that.
I'm kind of wondering too if other people's experience in the society is less culty, right? Because we I brought up the word mafia last time, thinking like that's what this more felt like to me, and then reading the second half, I was like, no, like I actually agree now with Taylor saying that it's culty because of Tom's particular way of handling it. Like he's kind of proselytizing. He says like the society says when he's doing recruitment, which is just like giving religious recruitment, right? Um, I wonder if that experience was kind of hand carved by Hendrik because it worked well with him, right? So if like Hendrik's structure for Tom was to make him more of like emotionally connected to it, right? Because Tom has this like the society saved me thing, right? Like he perceives the society that way, and so to like create this structure around him where he's like, oh look, like you, the thing you feel, other people are feeling that too, feels like a targeted manipulation tactic. Now, if someone else is coming in and they don't feel saved per se, but they understand the mission or they're into the mission or they see importance in it, maybe he's not treating it as much of a cult as he is like a mafia, right? Like I think Agnes's perspective is going to be different, where she sees how important it is. She's willing to do whatever it takes. In her perspective, it's not a cult, it's a mafia, right? Like I think it's just depending on what Hendrik needs out of a person or sees their personality type or their relationship with the society. That's what he's going to do to manipulate it. Whereas like also like with Marion, right? Like she has a totally different perspective where like this is kind of like about revenge, right? So I think he's like just building up the stories that people come in with and like using that to his benefit.
That's a good point. Yeah, that would have been so interesting if like again our first part if like Tom had tried to dismantle or if there had been a group against the society and like really us just getting to spend more time with albatrosses, I suppose, right? And like seeing how they live and seeing how they feel about the society. Cuz like Marion seems like a recent recruit. We don't really know anything about her, and then Omai is like completely against it, obviously, and then Agnes is like around, but not really around.
Mm.
Like it would have been interesting to see like the people that Tom recruited, even if it was the person who sent the letter, whether they sent it or not, and like have Tom follow that person and like see what resulted in what he did, right? Like,
Right.
did I make your life better by having you join the society?
No, that's a good point. And I think on the other end of that too, like Tom is very aware that people are being killed, right? Even if he's not doing it himself, like I think I would have been curious more of his thoughts on that, because like another line of this that makes me kind of angry, related to the safety, is Hendrik's claim that this is to protect them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But look, like he would have had Tom killed, and he certainly has other people killed. There's like this whole, oh, like the moment we know about you, you're in the society, and if you're not down with that, you die, right? So, like in my head, like I think the Albatross Society's probably killed more albatrosses than anyone else, based on that, because I think there's probably plenty of people who reject it, and probably plenty more people reject it than are ever known to scientists or whoever else is going to harm them. And yet, like Tom is kind of okay with that.
Yeah.
I think it's just a frustrating feature of it, and just something we could have gotten more out of. Almost think, I talked about how at the beginning of the book they explain albatrosses pretty directly and like don't explore that idea more because like all of like what they are, because that's just laid out at the beginning. I kind of wish it wasn't that way now. Like at the time I was like, oh, like that's cool because then like it's out of the way and we can focus on kind of the interpersonal parts of the story. I think now reaching the end and feeling a little bit underwhelmed by that, like I kind of wish it did get more into almost like I think sci-fi books tend to follow this a little bit more of like, what is the system, like what is the structure we're working against, like just getting into the details kind of the society. And yeah, like you said, other albatrosses and how they are living. And I mean, this is a government overthrow story masked with a romance, and I kind of just want it to be a government overthrow story.
Yeah. Yeah, calling it romance is a stretch, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think it's advertised that way, though.
It is.
I have a lot of issues with the way books are advertised and blurbs that probably have very little to do with the author's intentions, but like that was the vibe that I was given on the way into this book, and and it wasn't that, but like I still take issue even if it's not advertised that way, because now it still isn't what I think it could have been by being spread a little thin, like we've talked about. It could have been, I think, a really interesting and really good, government overthrow, like undermining and fighting for what's right type of vibe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like changing minds too, I guess.
Yeah, it had the potential to like expand Tom's circle, I suppose, right? I think it tries to do that with like Anton and with Camille and all of that and be like, love is the solution to everything. And like, we can still have that theme of like, love is the solution, and then bring in characters like Marion and Oh My, bring them in sooner, and then also bring in like other albatrosses and like, damn, I guess I'm on my usual bullshit. We kind of needed the found family vibes, to be honest,
Yeah.
in this book a little bit.
But like I get why that's not there with this the society part of it, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying as like as a force against the fact that the society is so solitary and isolating.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, we kind of go through this book and like Tom never challenges that part of the society. And so like because Tom isn't looking into things or like thinking about anything, a very head empty type of individual, the society just becomes like this one solitary thing that Tom knows it as, but we don't actually ever know what the society is like.
Yeah, and I think I'm troubled by my thoughts on this just because what I'm asking for is simply a different type of story, right?
Mhm.
Like, I think this is not what the author set out to do, and I think the author made that clear. But I think it's just a side effect of it feeling like it's kind of in between ideas.
Yeah.
Guess the last thing I'll say on this kind of topic is just the Marion part of the story was like a little disappointing, but I think that has more to do again with just like the excitement I had of the potential that she could be working against Hendrik. So I think it was just more depressing than anything, which I think is the point. But like just seeing that she was like brainwashed and like Hendrik did his homework on that one for sure. Like getting Agnes in to like be like, no, I know your dad, and like he said this, and like having the letter, like the depth of manipulation there, which I think was probably important to see. Also knowing that Hendrik was a manipulator, just like seeing how deep it goes, which is like sad and depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was also kind of rushed at the end a little bit. Like we didn't get to sit in it too much. I think the fact that Hendrik, we knew he was lying about Marion from like the very beginning.
Yeah, he like hinted that like he wasn't saying something at least.
Yes, for sure. So like if we had just moved that entire plot point up, I guess, and like dealt with the brainwashing and like but yeah, now we're entering into the territory where this is a completely different book than what we got.
Yeah.
But like even excusing the society just from like their relationship, Tom and Marion, we get like hints of it at the end, but it would have been nice to see the ways that they have to rebuild a relationship, right? Because they have been separated for centuries, right?
Yeah.
So,
I guess we get the start of it, right? But then she kind of just leaves a couple weeks later, so I don't know.
yeah, we don't really like get to explore what she's had to go through and like how long Hendrik has known her and like all of that kind of stuff. It's just saved too late in my opinion.
I also I often talk about the believability aspect, right? Like I didn't feel like enough information was given to Marion for her to break when she did. Like when she just like decides to understand and listen to Tom and like give him a hug or whatever, right? Like that moment where she like switches sides. That's where it felt rushed for me because I mean, like I said, Hendrik did his homework. He had all of these evidence points with effectively multiple sources, right? Like Marion should kind of be beyond the point of no return on this. And so like I felt like I wanted to hear more and like yeah, get more into the why for like why Marion should listen to what Tom is saying and like switch sides and believe that she's being brainwashed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that could have been filled in with some background of Marion having distrust, right? We never get a Marion perspective. But if like Marion came in with some distrust of Hendrik, that could have helped too. But if she did, which I guess she did, but like we just don't see that. And so like it just made that scene not smooth, and it did just kind of have to move along to okay, like now we're working against Hendrik, so we like can get him and also make sure Omai doesn't die.
Right. Yeah, I think it just gets simplified to like the fact that he still has the coin is like proof that he still cares for her, which I think is fine. But like, yeah, it did feel a little rushed at the end. I think something interesting that could have happened is we can assume that Hendrik was having Tom watched by somebody.
Mm.
It would have been interesting if that somebody was Marion and we got like hints of Tom seeing her, right? Like thinking he's seeing a ghost,
yeah.
or, you know, not believing it's actually her.
Oh, that could have been interesting.
And then, yeah, that causes like the deception and the feeling of betrayal to last longer. Because from Marion's perspective, she would see her father get a new job, fall in love with a new woman, like start a new life.
And like not thinking about her at all, as he wasn't.
Right. And it would have just like built everything up a little bit more.
Yeah, that could have been really good, honestly.
Yeah, because I will say, after we went to see Omai, first of all, I was excited to see Omai because he's like kind of amazing. And we get there, and then like the next scene, Marion shows up, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, I was not expecting to see her in this entire book because we were basically at the end.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. No, I did kind of like give up on thinking we'd see her too.
I thought we might, because of like, who was it? I can't remember her last name.
Mary Peters.
But I thought we might have like an interesting commentary on like the difference between a female albatross and a male albatross. Because the book does touch on that a little bit. Like Tom does note like when they go about drowning witches, it's the women they're drowning, right? Right. So like obviously Marion's experiences are very different from Tom's. So I thought we were gonna maybe start to, you know, get into that situation. But we didn't. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't mind what happened instead though. Like they had the whole conversation of like love and queerness and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was fine.
I thought that was kind of a good tie-in because, especially to you, I don't know. This is where I'm like this because I had my complaints about Omai earlier, and I was like, yeah, but I don't want that. I don't want the risk of bringing in diversity to stop someone from doing so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I thought this was like a good way of doing so, where it's like, oh yes, like this sort of overcoming a fear thing is a thing that has happened in history many times, to include recent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like bringing in the queer perspective of like, well, the way that queer folks handled it was like facing fear with love and, you know, kind of what we were talking about earlier, like bravely, openly. I thought that was kind of a clever way of being like, yes, like let's not forget when we're struggling that we are not the first to struggle.
Yeah, which again ties into the you need to kind of expand and love other people situation we have going on here. I just feel like there wasn't enough of that loving other people happening for Tom for it to feel satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways it could have been the Camille thing, but that was swept under most of the time. And, you know, I mean, I come to the end of this book feeling like it wasn't a romance, right? I mean, they squeezed a little bit of romance trope in there, but like mostly it wasn't. You don't really see him truly falling in love with her. You kind of just know that that's what will happen.
Yeah. And like, I don't think their banter was like interesting enough for me to think they had any kind of connection, mostly because Tom like just did not engage in human interaction enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just helped a lot by the fact that Camille is intrigued by him because she knows who he, or she's seen him before, right? So like of course she's going to keep looking at him, she's going to keep finding ways to be interested in him until she figures it out. So she's, in a way, she's got some conditioning to push her in that direction. For Tom, there's none of that. Quite frankly, she's just French.
Yeah, which would have been interesting if like Camille had just pushed more. Like if you're gonna have her push and like be the one instigating this relationship, just have her do it completely, right? Like have her look at the history, like get herself in trouble, that kind of stuff, right? Just lean into it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we get to the end of this book and Tom is like texting her, you need to leave, you're in danger, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And also it sounds like when he goes back he doesn't like explain that to her right away. Like I feel like that's the first thing I'd be doing. It's like, by the way, like sorry, this is what happened. Like because you told someone their life was in danger. Like I just think that needs a quick explanation, not like let me see you at work the next day first, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah.
I guess while we're on the topic of Camille, like there was I think a lost opportunity here. There's this whole thing of her having a seizure, and she kind of talks of having visions basically, and like that's what helps her remember him. And it almost felt like that was trying to get at something. Like we end up realizing she's not an albatross herself, right? But it almost felt like there was meant to be like a special ability type of thing implied there that just like totally never gets addressed.
Right. In my notes, I was like, does she have visions? Like, are we giving her visions? Because we know the albatrosses get that ability for some reason.
Like when they grow older.
Yeah. So I was like, is she tapping into something here? I don't know if I would like that, though, because then that's like the disability superpower
thing,
type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it felt a little weird because it felt like that, but just wasn't gotten into at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also just was like bothered by the squeezing in of the classic like miscommunication trope, right? Like an overhearing of information that leads to them having their first fight, probably moments, seconds, minutes, I guess, after declaring romantic feelings for one another.
Yeah, oh my God, this might be why I hate Camille a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the fact that this man has just told you he's lived for centuries, you could be in danger if you know this information. And then he gets a mysterious phone call where he doesn't bring you up. And then you assume he's like talking to another woman. I'm like, are you dumb? Like, what are we thinking about here?
Also, like, didn't he say out loud, "I'm alone right now"?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Like, get the picture, Camille.
Yeah. And she like stands up and is obnoxious about the fact that she's there. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What are we thinking?
Yeah.
And also, she also knows that he's looking for his daughter, right? So like, why would you not assume any her mentioned is his daughter?
Is the daughter, yeah.
Like, please use your brain.
Yeah. It felt a little contrived in my opinion. And it also could have gone without, maybe like in a romance book where you need conflict, right? Sure, fine. I get why you're putting it there. I still might not like it, but like I get why you're putting it there. This book did not necessarily need that conflict for it to go on because they don't talk to each other for the rest of the book, like until the end. So there wasn't like, it would have been totally reasonable for that fight to not have happened and everything else still happened as it did.
Yeah. And also I understand like the point of like there is a thought he has of like, it's good that she hates me because that'll create distance, which I think is a fair thought for him to have. We should have spent longer on that type of mentality, but whatever.
That was kind of his original approach with her, yeah.
Yeah, so it's fine that we revisit that with this argument. The argument easily could have been about the fact that he's keeping secrets. It didn't need to be about jealousy. It could have just been about the fact that he is obviously keeping a secret from you, and it's a dangerous secret. And then, you get into an argument, and then he immediately disappears? Like, that just feeds into the argument they're having, because where the fuck did he go, right? Like, something is obviously going on. So, like, I just think there's a quick fix for that situation.
Yeah. We do get a bit at the end of them in the future, I guess, which felt weird. Like, that could have just been the now, but, you know. There's the bit of them going to France and Camilla's pregnant, which I'm like, wow, 2 years. Like, I just forget I'm not straight. And so I don't understand these things sometimes. So I'm like, do people really have kids together after 2 years? I guess they do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that just feels fast. I don't know. Not to judge, but I just don't understand it. Anyway, what really stuck out to me about this was your understanding that they had moved to France?
I'm going to be honest, I thought they were like just on vacation.
Maybe that's what's supposed to be implied, and then everything I'm about to say is just stupid and wrong. But like the fact that the dog was with them, I was like, did they take the dog on vacation? I mean, they live in England; they can take a train to France, so maybe they did bring the dog on vacation. But if they moved, it would leave me with some feelings of discontent about the teaching thing, because I kind of went on my rant last episode about how he approaches deciding to teach and concerns about how it feels like he's using the kids to go through his own shit. If he and Camille left that quickly, especially because right before this, in the last like London Now chapter, he's like, actually, I think I'm liking this whole teaching thing, right? Even if I'm not sure he's improved yet, but I assume he would, over time, especially if he likes it. it would be kind of wild for them to then both leave the school within 2 years, right? And leave that behind, and like just like not commit a little bit more. Like that would give me more of the feeling then that Tom is in fact using those kids for his own benefit and not like actually putting the effort into working with them and caring about them.
Yeah, I think it's either the vacation thing or like the general thing, right? Like teaching in the general sense rather than like,
Being a teacher in this specific place.
yeah, for these specific students. Which does feel a little bit like a failing because, yeah, we have like Anton and like other students that we kind of get to know, but not really. So it does feel kind of dismissive at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give credit that like they mentioned. It sounds like he's still in touch with Anton at the least, right? Because they talk about like his exam scores and stuff, which I don't think he's talking about his current exam scores like in his current class because he's 2 years out, right? But yeah, so at least that kind of implies that like there was positive effect, and like I'll loop back around to this too because I was a little judgmental of the Anton relationship in the first one, like just like fearful, I guess, of where it could go. I do think it stayed manageable. Like I don't think, how do I put it? Obviously he did have a major effect on Anton's life, but I don't think it was like he really like transformed that kid, right? Like he just kind of gave him something to be motivated, and I think like that is a reasonable amount of change that a teacher could have in their first year, especially, right? Like I don't think this was like overdoing like any sort of savior thing. Like I think he was just, that was appropriate. I did think it was like pushing it a little to be like, and Anton wants to go to college for history after like 2 months in this guy's class. That felt like a stretch, but I'm like willing to accept that one. Like it's not egregious. Like it's a book. They can do what they want with that. Like that is meant to make you feel good in a way that I don't think is exploitative of the kid,
Yeah, and I think even if Tom doesn't, like, he kind of goes into it, but not a lot with most things, but like it definitely is supposed to be a moment of like Tom being in this place at this time has made an impact on somebody's life, which I think is an important revelation for him to have, considering.
Yeah, kind of the idea of legacy again, right?
Yeah, for sure. So we can probably get into the reviews. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I like I said at the beginning, I didn't dislike this book. I definitely had some concerns, criticisms, but at the end of the day, I don't really think anything was that major to like make me think this is a bad book or anything like that. So I do wish it was just like a little more exciting and I had stuck to a point a little bit more. I mean, I talked about alternative versions of the book. I'm not going to judge it on that, but just that it had made either more of a point on like romance or the society or love or any of the main themes of the book. Even there was like a bit on gossip too we didn't really talk about, but like I just wanted to see some like more connective tissue, something drilled in a little bit more throughout the book just for me to grab on. I didn't find myself interested in a lot of the flashback portions because I didn't feel like that was there. I mean I think they were fun, but I just didn't find them interesting from a plot perspective. They were context only, so there's just something missing about that to me. Anyway, that's a lot of words. I think as far as like a rating to go with this review, it's probably going to be a 3 out of 5 this time, smack in the middle.
Honestly, a lot of what you said is exactly how I feel. I feel like it really just needed to pick one thing and speak on it, or at least like find a better way to integrate everything together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to your point, I didn't end this book hating it. I guess I also just felt at the end a little apathetic towards it all, sadly. So I think I will also give it a 3.
Wow. It's not often we agree. They're like agree specific to the point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same, yeah.
I think what you said at the beginning was totally right. It has good bones, right?
Yeah.
And I guess we should tack on a good vibes as well. Do you want to go first on that?
Yeah, for a good vibe, it has to be music. I think the way Tom talks about music, like that is a good like through line within this book, right? His life begins with music and he kind of carries it with him always. It's basically the same as like love and like emotion for him.
Yeah.
And like the interlude on piano felt like a really good reflective chapter. I wish we got more of like that. Like how he feels about things rather than the things that just happened. And I think if you're feeling apathetic, and it can be hard to put into words how you feel about things, having music or having something similar to it, I think is a very good way to like bridge that gap kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess yeah, just music and how Tom relates to music and like the connection it provides between him and other people, I think is just really well done.
I found myself wanting more of it in the second half of the book because I think there's kind of a point where it stopped coming up. But I mean, things were happening. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I almost wanted this to be tied in a little bit more in the second half, like after the happy hour scene. Because it was good. Yeah, I liked the emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
I usually try to target something specific for good vibes like that. I find myself right now just wanting to say, like, I think the good vibe is I just like what Matt Haig does as an author. Like, what he targets, as the categories he's willing to explore. I feel like for many other authors, they would seem like risky moves, like, with Midnight Library having like a thing about suicide, right? Like this kind of talks about that topic a little bit as well. It gets into mortality a little bit, and like an oppressive leader. Like, I don't know. I think these are kind of like bold topics being delivered in a way that is accessible and like, I don't know, just I think the straightforwardness of his writing and like I think he just understands how to write for a wide audience in a way that like makes these things that could be tough and could be controversial more acceptable to people. I don't know if that's like the right words for it, but like I just think it's very accessible reading for potentially tough topics. He's not dwelling on dark. But he is exploring tough topics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, and he typically wraps it up in a very concise way.
Yeah.
Sometimes people find fault with that. They think it's like too direct, but I think in Midnight Library and in this, sometimes you kind of just need the words said to you very directly for you to understand them, and I don't think that's like a detriment. I think
exactly.
Yeah, his to the point kind of writing is overall pretty good.
Yeah. So I like his angle. I want him to keep doing it. Like I would certainly read more of his work after this too. So
yeah. And I guess that's it.
Yeah. What are we reading next?
We are reading Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, which is obviously a Polish author, Polish book. And so we're reading a translated version. Very specifically, we are reading the translation that's done by Bill Johnston. It seems like it's only available as like an ebook or an audiobook. I don't think they ever published it as like a physical book, at least this translation. But we're in the age of ebooks, so I'm sure somebody will find it somewhere. And halfway is up to, but not including, the chapter titled Monsters. The book is basically a science fiction, obviously, about research being done on this planet, I think, like just an ocean-covered planet. And it seems like there's some psychological warfare maybe happening on this planet.
So this is like, if this is an occupied planet, like there's other intelligent beings on the planet, or is that to be determined?
I think the ocean, the Solaris Ocean, is like an entity.
Okay. Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think this book kind of taps into a little bit of like the dissonance between like humanity and like alien communications and like how those things don't really mesh and like we're too separated. I think it taps into a little bit of that. So like sci-fi is what we're going with here.
Yeah, I mean, my follow-up question was going to be, do you feel like there's horror vibes to this?
Yeah, I think it's more psychological, so I think it taps into a little bit of like horror, maybe some grief if I remember correctly. And then yeah, I think some people die, but don't quote me on that.
I mean, the thing about science fiction is that people do die, right? Like science fiction to me is often more horrific than horror, which is why I ask that, because I'm like, there's some flavors of science fiction, but I think a great deal of it is kind of violent.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we're doing next time. It's a short little sci-fi. Should be a good time. And if you have your own thoughts and theories about How to Stop Time, which we just finished, or Solaris, all of our socials are in the description.
And give us a like or follow or subscribe or whatever button your podcast app decides to present to you today. And we'd appreciate any 5-star reviews as well. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Oh God, I hated that. Bye.